We've said it before, but this time we really mean it. This weekend may be high noon for the Nashville Predators season. We're going to tell you why the Predators have to win their back-to-back games this weekend. Plus, it's Friday. We're going to play some takes from a hat.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this Friday edition of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this fun Friday episode shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers. We appreciate your support. We love talking Nashville Predators hockey with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a co-host and writer with Penalty Box Radio. And my friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Now, I know we said this before, Emma, but today we actually really mean it. It feels like, again, we are at do or die time for the Nashville Predators, who absolutely must string together some wins ahead of the Four Nations break if they want to even keep it remotely interesting. That's going to start this weekend with back-to-back games. We're going to preview the games against Buffalo and Pittsburgh. We're also going to tell you who we wish was on the Nashville Predators quarter-century team. Plus, friends, it is Friday. And that means we are pulling out the greatest piece of hockey swag, the 10-gallon foam hat, and we are going to play some takes from a hat. Before we dive into all of that good stuff, do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. I know we've said it before, Emma, and it feels like it's a broken record. Like, there are certain things that I think people must think that we are like Ferris Bueller, where we just have a recording that goes off and says the same thing when somebody rings the doorbell, because we're like, the Predators have to win these games, or the defense has to improve, or like there's just certain things that we are saying over and over again. But we really mean it this time, y'all. Predators, where they sit at the time of this recording, they are 13 points out of the second wild card spot. They are chasing Seattle, Anaheim, St. Louis, Utah, Calgary, Vancouver, Colorado, basically everybody. Now, upside is that Seattle, Anaheim, and Vancouver have very difficult strength of schedule when it comes to remaining games. Nashville has the easiest strength of schedule. But Emma, let's just keep it real. Just because Nashville is playing a quote unquote bottom feeder team doesn't mean that Nashville is always super successful, if we're just being honest about this season.
If anything, it's like the kiss of death. I mean, I feel like this is what I said whenever we last talked about it with the strength of schedule. And I was like, why does that make me feel worse? Why does it make me feel worse that this team has the easiest strength of schedule? Because they tend to play some of their better games against teams that in theory they shouldn't be beating. And then the teams they should be beating, either it's like a San Jose, Chicago situation where they barely beat them, or they lose. And now coming up this weekend, you've got a back-to-back Buffalo and Pittsburgh, two very beatable teams, and yet I don't feel good about it.
I know. And look, it's so frustrating because on paper, Nashville shouldn't be where they are in the standings, but here they are. But Nashville also shouldn't struggle against teams like this when you are looking at, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but just like where they are at in the big picture. You know, you're looking at San Jose, they're in a rebuild. You're looking at Chicago, they're kind of in a rebuild. You're looking at Pittsburgh. They make the Nashville Predators look like young little whippersnappers. You know, so these are teams that you think, okay, on paper, Nashville has more talent. But like you said, this is not translated. And we've talked, with Andrew Brunette about that. And we've talked on the show about sometimes, Nashville and in sports in general, you play down to the reputation of your opponent. Let me just tell you something, Nashville. You cannot do that. Between now and the Four Nations break, of course, they have Buffalo and Pittsburgh this weekend. They have Ottawa, they have Chicago, and then they have one more against Buffalo. Only one of those teams has a winning record, and that is Ottawa. This should be a chance for Nashville to string together some wins and make a push to at least stay remotely numerically in the conversation. But yeah, there's just no guarantees with this team.
Nothing makes sense this year. It's zebras, it's sure, it's whatever else we've said about it. It's just like, I don't even know, man. I just don't know.
No.
Don't know what we're gonna get.
Like, it's Alice in Wonderland. Like, we have fallen down the rabbit hole and nothing makes sense. It's Mary Poppins floating up along the ceiling. It just, y'all, we are smart people. We are smart people. And here we are. Nothing makes sense anymore. So tonight, the Predators are going to kick off this weekend's back-to-back. They are headed to Buffalo. Buffalo, they are 5-6-1 in January, 5-5 in their last 10. Buffalo is so interesting because for all of the people that are like, Nashville needs to tear it down. Okay, you can have a good tear down plan, but then you end up like Buffalo, who is perpetually rebuilding, but it's like the big bad wolf comes and blows their house down, when they get anything going. And yet Buffalo has played some interesting games. Recently, they've got wins against Boston, Vancouver. That one hurts a little extra this morning. Carolina, Ottawa, Washington. Like, Buffalo, at one point I was like, ooh, you're going to make it interesting, Sabres. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, you're not. And then I'm like, oh, now wait a minute, Buffalo.
Well, it's interesting because they are in the Eastern Conference, which is pretty wide open at this point. Like,
Sounds lovely.
Right? I'm like, anyone, you talk about any given team, it's like, well, they're just 2 points out of a playoff spot. Well, so is everyone else. Like, it really is anyone's to take. And so it's interesting. Like you said, it sounds nice. But Buffalo, I will say, they have that whole element of the Eastern Conference going for them. I will say I actually watched their game against Boston the other night.
Me too.
They didn't just beat them, they beat the living flagnog out of them.
They
And
did.
I think that it's just, I don't know, it's a little Predators-esque where it's like every once in a while, it's like you'll get these games where it's like, where'd all these goals come from? And then other games where it's like they can't buy one.
Yeah.
And these are two very, just befuddling teams, I think. With Buffalo, like you said, I often try to get Nashville fans to have some perspective that usually doesn't go over well among the fans, but I try anyway.
I appreciate the
try.
effort. Yeah.
Talking about perspective and people, we have one bad season. We go out, get all these new pieces in the off season, which is what you people were begging David Poile to do, and he didn't. And then Barry Trotz does it, and now you're mad at him. And after one bad season, it's like, all right, tear it down, start it over. Okay, look at Buffalo. Like, this team, this is a team where I don't know how their general manager, Kevin Adams, is still has a job. There was some serious speculation that he was going to lose his job earlier this season. This, like you said, perpetual rebuild. And quite honestly, they do have they have a pretty stacked farm system, and they have some good prospects. The problem is when you're talking about getting better in terms of having any kind of trade deadline strategy or getting better on the free agent market. I have talked to some people about this, and it's a very real thing that they have a hard time attracting players to come to Buffalo. It is not like a destination city. And, whether you think that should be part of a player's decision or not, it is what it is. But I think that it's interesting. And that's something that, again, I urge Nashville fans, have some perspective. At least you don't have that problem. Everyone wants to come to Nashville. No taxes.
Yeah.
Country music, you know.
It's so funny to me too. As somebody who grew up just a couple hours from Buffalo, Buffalo is actually low-key kick-ass city.
I like Buffalo. I
Buffalo is
always like Buffalo.
amazing. Now, I know there's a ton of snow in the wintertime, but I'm telling you, Buffalo in the summer is amazing. Like, it's just a really, really cool city. But I think between the weather and it's kind of like you said, it's an under the radar locale, and the fact that this team just can't seem to this front office can't seem to get out of their own way, it is tough. And you see players wanting to leave. And that's a tough sell. Now, the one player that I would tell you that I would trade almost anything for would be Tage Thompson. Okay, first of all, 6'6", 220 pounds. That's like the dream of a general manager. We want somebody who with size. I'd like to introduce you to Tage Thompson, who is like two UC Soroses stacked on top of each other. He had a hat trick against Boston. He was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
The Sabres had 2 hat tricks against Boston. It was insane.
Killed them.
And one of them was without an empty netter in there too. So it was a true hat trick. But anyway, I just think that the way I kind of look at Tage Thompson, again, big dude, it's like, and I mean this with love. I say this with love, but it's like if Michael McCarron was also a really good goal scorer.
I know. That's
Tage
exactly
Thompson.
it. That is it. Said with love. 100% true. So Preds have to kick off. They have to get a win tonight against Buffalo. You know, coming up, we'll tell you just where we think Nashville can get the upper hand. We're also going to preview real quick Saturday's game. And we got to talk about that quarter century team. Emma and I feel like they may have missed some people. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Gametime. Attending a live sports event, a concert, a great comedy show, or, of course, a musical theater performance makes for great memories with your family and friends. If you want to make some of those special memories this year, you need to go and check out all of the events available at Gametime. Gametime has a great feature. It's called Gametime Picks, and it's going to make getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff, and it's going to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you're not going to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. I recently used Gametime Picks to get tickets for an upcoming Preds game for my son. Got to browse through the deals. So simple. I found great value for all kinds of seats around Bridgestone Arena. The super deal, totally impressive. It offers the best value for a game. The app's features like seat views before you buy and all-in pricing with no surprise fees at checkout makes the experience smooth and reliable. Plus, they have on-time ticket delivery and a lowest price guarantee that gives you peace of mind. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Emma, when we look at this Buffalo game, you know, and it's hard to even say this after the game against Vancouver, but could we do some better stuff on special teams? Preds, of course, went 0 for 3 on the penalty kill. I think they went on the power play, excuse me. They went 1 for 3 on the penalty kill against Vancouver. Buffalo special teams, not anything to really write home about. Nashville could use a little momentum, especially on that power play. So for me, special teams, like, stay out of the box. There are no wings. There are no wings in the sin bin in Buffalo. But yeah, like make good choices on the power play. Please.
Like, carry the puck in. We talked about this on yesterday's show. Maybe get someone other than Roman Josi to do it. Not saying that he's not good at it, but it's like clearly there needs to be some kind of a shakeup to this system and get to the net and don't just keep passing it to each other around the perimeter. Like, again, this power play was supposed to be so much better, this
Oh,
power play
gosh.
unit for Nashville.
Just so painful.
And it has been painful. The penalty kill, again, like, I'm willing to, that actually, was the top ranked kill in the league for a while, but I mean, you're now missing some key pieces to that. Like, you don't have Alex Carrier anymore. You don't have Jeremy Lauzon. You now just have gotten Cole Smith back, so that'll help. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason that the special team should not be an advantage for this team rather than a disadvantage.
Yeah. Statistically, Buffalo is 12th in the league when it comes to goals for per game, which is a little bit shocking. But here's the other thing. They lose a lot, so they give up a lot of goals. So this is sort of like Nashville Predators, San Jose Sharks. Like, there may be a lot of goals. Nashville just has to make sure that they score more. And it would be really great if the defense could shut down Buffalo, because truly, and I know it sounds strange, but when Buffalo gets going offensively, they've got some playmakers. We leave Buffalo Friday and traveled to Pittsburgh on Saturday. Another one of my favorite cities. Not so much the Penguins, but love the city of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, 21-24-8. They're 3-7-0 in their last 10. They have losses to San Jose. They've lost twice to Seattle. They've lost to Anaheim, people in glass houses and all that stuff, but they did lose to Anaheim. So Pittsburgh, they've got Sidney Crosby.
They sure do.
For now.
They don't have much else. And that's kind of, it's been such a weird situation in Pittsburgh. Obviously, they had the whole situation with Tristan Jarry, their goaltender.
Yes.
They put him on waivers, sent him back to the AHL. Now they've got Alex Nedeljkovic and was it Joel Blomqvist, I believe, is their backup now. And so I think that it's just such a strange situation, because you think that, when you re-sign all those guys, you re-sign Crosby and you've got Letang and Malkin and you have Brian Rust, and you think, like, all right, well, clearly they're trying to, one last ride with these guys, before they ride off into the sunset. But then it's like they signed all those guys, but they didn't surround them with a team, like with a good enough team. And now they're seeing the repercussions for that. I don't envy Kyle Dubas his job, because he inherited a lot of this. This is not his doing, but he came into Pittsburgh and inherited this. And so now it's trying to figure out what they want to do, like where they want to go, because as long as you have Sidney Crosby on your team, you can't say like, we're rebuilding. Like, that's not how that works. And so it's like, well, we're trying, but also we might be trading some big pieces. So it's like, we might be sellers, but also we still have Crosby. So we're not officially throwing in the towel, but we kind of are. And it's like, it's a very weird line that they're kind of towing right now. So I think that, again, easy opportunity for the Predators to capitalize on a situation should they choose to. But, I don't know. A lot of times we talk about, and we talked about this the other day, against Anaheim, this Predators team struggles against, the rush, and they struggle against young, speedy players. Who's one team that's actually older than the Predators? Pittsburgh.
Let's hear it for the old farts.
Yeah. So it's like, hey guys, you can't use the speed and the youth as an excuse, because this is like literally the one team that's older than you. So
yeah. I think in a lot of ways, Pittsburgh is a cautionary tale, and some Nashville Predators fans, I think, compare where Nashville is to Pittsburgh. Like, oh, you're hanging on to these old guys, but nothing's going to happen. And I'm like, they're not in the same spot. Barry Trotz has shored up who is around the quote unquote old guys, Forsberg, Josi, Saros, and none of those guys are particularly ancient. But also, I think Nashville just has a much more robust pipeline, young players, and that makes a difference. So while some people may say, well, we're just right where Pittsburgh is, not really. It's not
No.
really the same. So there is that. Of course, we are going to be seeing Phil Tomasino, Cody Glass. Although is Tomasino might be injured. He did not play in the last game. I don't know.
Yeah, he has been kind of off and on dealing with some injuries.
Okay. So, we'll see if we see those former folks. Evgeny Malkin out with a lower body injury as well. So again, it's right there for the taking, y'all. Are you going to take it?
Should you choose to accept it? It is right there.
It's right there.
Again, it's like, oh, we'll take Vegas or Minnesota. Well, Minnesota was different because they were too focused on trying to murder Zach LaRue and they forgot there was a game to play. But like, yeah, we're going to take Vegas and just beat the snot out of them. But then when there's there's Anaheim or Vancouver or, a team that we should be able to beat, it's like,
Yep.
And I don't mean like they're not trying, but it's just like it just feeds into what we're talking about, that this whole season has just been backwards the way that it's supposed to be, the way that everything is supposed to be.
Yeah. What player do you think needs to and I this isn't the phrasing I want to use, but step it up. Who's going to lead this for the Nashville Predators in this back-to-back this weekend? Emma, what's your call?
I mean, Forsberg is the obvious answer. You need him doing his thing. Not to say he hasn't been doing his thing, but I just would like to see that continue. I think Roman Josi is already doing too much for this team, and so I'd like to see the rest of the defense step up a little bit. And I would like to see a little bit more from Ryan O'Reilly and Gus Nyquist from that line. And I don't mean to say that they haven't been doing anything. Like there was I mean, like O'Reilly makes some really, really good plays that, kind of go under the radar because they a lot of times don't result in goals because welcome to the Nashville Predators this year. Nothing results in a goal. But I think that, I don't know, he kind of gets lost a little bit. He gets a little, I don't really know. I can't quite put my finger on it. I would like to see him, kind of stepping it up a little bit more, taking charge on offense.
Yeah, I agree with you that line of Nyquist, O'Reilly, and Vinny Hinostroza, so much potential there. And I will say this, Vinny Hinostroza has been on fire in practices Monday and Tuesday. I thought he had a pretty good game against Vancouver, not finding the back of the net, but doing the things. I'd love to see that line cash in. And look, Nashville needs it up and down the lineup.
Oh, yeah. And Hinostroza, former Penguin, so could be looking to...
Revenge game. Let's stick it to the man. It's what we do. Yep. The Nashville Predators just released, or it was just released by the NHL. Nashville's quarter century team came out earlier in this week. First team, Mike Fisher, Filip Forsberg, Paul Kariya, Roman Josi, Shea Weber. I almost said Pete Weber. Shea Weber and Pekka Rinne. Of course, Pete Weber would be first team. If it came to broadcasting. Second team, Ryan Johansson, David Legwand, Steve Sullivan, Matthias Ekholm, Kimmo Timonen, and Juuse Saros. I will say this, when I just glanced at it, and for some reason, when I clicked on it, I got to the second team and I saw Matthias Ekholm and I was terribly offended. Second team, my ass. And then I was like, oh, Josi and Weber. Okay, I stand corrected.
That's the thing, and that's what makes this whole season so frustrating for the Predators, because this is a team that has built its reputation on producing amazing defensemen, and instead they have the defense is a liability this year, but that is exactly the point. And it's like, you look at how in the hell is Matthias Ekholm's second team? Oh, well,
Oh, well, my bad.
Yeah,
That's
Roman
my bad.
Josi, Shea Weber, okay. Got a Hall of Famer. He should probably be on the first team. That's fine. And then,
Probably.
there's even other guys like PK Subban and, like guys
Mhm.
that are, I think, should at least in the conversation for
Yeah.
that team. And like the forwards, to me, the forwards were easier to
I
be
would
like, okay,
agree.
but I don't know.
Defenseman, yeah. Now, here I will say this, and this is just based purely off emotion, and I'm owning it. Where's Rem Pitlick? Where is Rem Pitlick? Rem Pitlick, I always felt like, and look, I know he's not in the league anymore, but watching Rem Pitlick was at my first development camp, and everybody was Ellie Tolvin in this, Ellie Tolvin in that. And I was like, who is the Pitlick kid? Because he was so great. I hate that Rem Pitlick did not make the list.
I think there's some that it's like, okay, I wish there were more spots available because it's like there's no one necessarily on the team that I'm like, they should be replaced or they shouldn't be on it.
Yes.
But it's like, I wish there was like an honorable mention, or can we have like a bench team, a practice
Yes.
team or something?
Yeah.
Because I would say, again, I'm not saying that he should replace anyone who is on either of the teams, but as like a backup option, I would make my argument for Matt Duchene because
Mhm.
I think that he was until last year when
Yeah.
Forsberg broke it, he was the leading scorer in franchise history for a few years when he set that right. And obviously he's not a homegrown talent, but still, and the whole buyout thing, kind of left a sour taste in a lot of
Yeah.
people's mouths. But if we're talking about what he did when he was here, I mean, Ryan Johansson, probably the best center, one of the best centers in franchise history. And now what he's done since then has not been
Yeah.
great. But I think that you just got to look at what people did when they were here. And I think that Matt Duchene is like, I would give him an honorable mention
Yeah.
just for that. I mean, he held the scoring title for
Right.
multiple years.
Yeah. Well, you have far more legs to stand on than I do with Rem Pitlick statistically, but my heart says Rem never got a chance. Coming up, it is Fun Friday, y'all. That means we are whipping out the 10-gallon foam hat and we're going to play some takes from a hat. Some of those takes from a hat that we're talking about, they come from our Locked On Predators insider community. You hear us talking about the Locked On Predators insiders all the time. This is a group that we chat with beyond the podcast, pre-game, during the game, post-game. We take questions, comments, thoughts, trade ideas from our Locked On Predators insider community via subtext. We want to invite you to join the conversation there if you're interested. To join this amazing community, you can find a link in this video description. You can also find a link in our bio. All right, Emma, greatest piece of hockey swag ever sold. Although, asterisk, did you see today that the Milwaukee Admirals are releasing a cowbell jersey?
I did see that.
You can bet your sweet baboo I'm getting one of those for my birthday. And I still want one of the refrigerator ones as well. But we're talking, of course, about the 10-gallon foam hat. And we're going to reach in here. I'm going to pull out some takes we're going to discuss for fun. It's going to be great.
Love it.
Ooh, almost dropping the 10-gallon hat. It's hard to find a spot for it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Adam Boqvist is on waivers. Did I say his name right?
No, you did.
Okay.
You did.
He's a right shot defenseman. He can carry the puck. Yay or nay, Emma, and why?
I mean, at this point, I don't think you're in a position to say nay to much when you're the Nashville Predators.
Is he upright?
Right? Yeah. I mean, I would entertain the idea. I saw that earlier today that he was put on waivers. I would I would have the conversation. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, hell yeah, go get this guy if it's the last thing you do. Because I don't know, remind me, I can't remember what his cap hit is, but
That's
I
a great
think
question.
it's,
I didn't even look because at this point we're so desperate. Who cares what it costs?
yeah, that's true. I mean, not that the Predators don't have cap space. I'm gonna
Yeah.
look this up right now. Talk
Yeah.
amongst yourself.
No, I had the exact same thought you did. I was like, look, I know his defensive numbers aren't through the roof, but right shot defenseman, man, we can't wrangle those up.
He's
Oh,
making the league minimum. Yeah, get his ass to Nashville. Why
dude,
not?
it's like we'd hardly even notice. I'll buy an
And
extra grilled cheese every now and again and we'll pay his contract.
and he's a Swede, so of course Anne wants him there.
What are we doing? What are we doing? He's going to make the half century team, baby. You heard it here first on this Locked On Predators podcast. Yeah. All right. Our next one, Utah is working on naming their hockey club. Apparently the Yetis are out, which was my fan favorite. They were down to the Utah Hockey Club, Utah Mammoth. It was the Utah Wasatch, but then apparently that did not receive rave reviews and they have swapped that out for the Outlaws. Emma, what is your vote?
I know you're going to disagree with me. I like hockey club. I like it. I think it
Are
sounds
you
clean and
European?
classy. I mean, by descent, yes, I am. But
Okay.
I think it's not just about like I don't know. I see both sides of it. So I think about when the Washington football team, they were the football team for a year, and then they went and became the Commanders. That was a whole, I remember a big part of that conversation was like, okay, we're gonna, you know, we will be the football team for 1 year, we'll sell a bunch of merch, and then when we pick a new name, we get to sell even more.
Yeah.
Because and then the football team stuff becomes a collector's item, and then it
Yep.
drives up value. I understand it from a marketing perspective, I do, but I that's not where my mind is with this. I'm not thinking about making money in the next couple
Mhm.
years. I'm just thinking about long term building a brand. The mammoth sounds weird to me. I don't know why. I'm just like,
It's
I don't
just
know.
not great.
No. And then I I agree that the Wasatch sounds terrible, but I appreciate the sentiment, which
Mhm.
is getting a local tie into the region, to the state, to the city, because the Wasatch Mountain Range in Utah.
Yeah.
Totally, I'm with you on that. For that reason though, I back when this whole thing first started, of course, it didn't make it into one of the finalists, but for that same reason, with Utah being the or no, not Utah. I'm sorry. Was it Utah or is it Salt Lake City? That is like the beehive state
Oh,
or the bee
yes. Yeah.
city. So I'm
Yeah.
like, what if you did something like the Utah Swarm or the Utah, like, I don't know.
Sting.
Yeah, like something like that. Not like
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think because it has the local tie-in to the
Mhm.
city, to the state. It doesn't sound ridiculous like Wasatch. And I don't know, Outlaws would have made more sense for Arizona than it does for Utah.
Yes.
So I know that people don't like hockey club because it sounds boring or, whatever it is, but I'm like, if those are my options, if it's hockey club, Mammoth, Wasatch, or Outlaws, hockey club.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Wasatch feels like vernacular I'm uncomfortable with.
It's it also I'm like, to me, it kinda sounds like Sasquatch, and
It
I'm like,
does. Yeah, and I
I
was
don't
like,
know.
is that like the female Sasquatch word? I don't know.
Wasatch.
I
Yeah,
like I'm
Wasatch, it does sound like it could be a slur now that you say it
I
like
know
that.
I feel uncomfortable
Mm.
saying it. I'm with you. Like if really the choices are Mammoth, Hockey Club, or Outlaw, I am not a fan of Hockey Club, but I like that best. Mammoth, it's just, it does nothing for me. An outlaw, I think of Pistol Pete. And I'm like, yes, that gives you a really easy mascot, but there is nothing about Utah that screams outlaw.
And
Quite the opposite.
this is just me thinking like 50 steps ahead
Come
right
on.
now with something like Outlaws. If you had like a Pistol Pete kind of, if that's where they, they want to go, do you not
Oh,
see this becoming problematic?
yes. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that anything with, Outlaws, it needs to be canceled and it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying in the current climate, I could see it
See it maybe
becoming an
not
issue.
being something. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they should have just gone with Yeti. I don't know why they don't listen to
See,
me.
I didn't like Yeti.
Oh, I'm here for Yeti. I'm here for
I
that. Oh,
like
here we
the
go.
Swarm or the Sting, but whatever. No one asked
Not
me.
bad. That's not bad. The Sarnia Sting have the coolest logo. They have a
Mhm.
great logo. Look it up, y'all.
Mhm.
Sarnia Sting. Look it up. Great logo. Would you rather have Tomasino, Glass, Fabro, or Parsonen back? And why? Because today is National Backward Day. If we could take it back,
Oh.
which one of them would you want to have?
Probably not the same one that a lot of people would wanna have, but to me, the easy answer, Fabro.
Come
I would like to have
on.
Fabro back. I think
Yes.
that the defense misses him, and I
Mhm.
said that I was always a Dante Fabro apologist. I always said that he did so much more than he got credit for. Yes, he was touted as this offensive defenseman when he was drafted, and he never quite took off in that regard. So in that way, people are like, "Oh, he doesn't score goals. He sucks." It's like, well, no. I mean, again, we were just talking about this with Roman Josi and how he's had all these different defensive partners. You know who he played really well with as his defensive partner? Dante Fabro.
Dante Fabro.
I would like to
100%.
have him back. Big
Yeah.
time would like to have him back.
Yeah. I miss Cody Glass. I miss hearing about Cody Glass's dogs, Teddy and
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Stop it, Cody Glass. And of course, loved Juuso Parsonen, loved Phil Tomasino. Felt like maybe there was more corn on the kernel for those guys than what we got to see here. 100% with you. Give me Dante Fabro.
Yep.
Please. But here we are. Here we are. And the defense is the defense, and the team is the team. And the team tonight has to beat the Buffalo Sabres Saturday night again, going to Pittsburgh. On Monday's show, heaven help us, Emma and I are going to recap this back-to-back. We will take a look at where the Predators end up in the standings after these two games. We're going to look ahead to what we have before the Four Nations face-off. We're also going to preview the Four Nations face-off coming up. We've got some Nashville Predators who are going to be playing. Will I be cheering for Team Sweden over Team USA? Maybe. Don't judge me. I'm a Swede. Before we log off on this fun Friday, Emma, will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
Well, I just hope that everyone has fun at the Four Nations Face Off. I love hockey, so go sports. I can be found on social media at Emma_Lingen. That is, of course, only if you agree with all of my takes. If you disagree with me, I don't want to talk to you. Just kidding, but not really. And you can find my work at the Hockey News.
Yes, and I hope nobody gets hurt
Yeah.
at the Four Nations, because
have fun, don't get hurt.
Don't get hurt. UC Saros looking at you. That's my Four Nations quick take. You can find me on social media at ANK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work at Penalty Box Radio as well. That's going to do it for this week's episodes of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for joining us and making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back Monday with some kind of show and some kind of feelings. We'll see you then.